Hi everybody, I hope everyone's had a really good May long weekend so far. If this is your first time tuning in, my name is Danielle and this is our Let's Paint 2020. I meant to make this video a little while ago, but then I thought about maybe trying some different ways of recording. So here I am painting on our deck and then just put the camera in front. And then I've sped up the video just a little bit, just that way you guys can kind of see the progress as it's going. And then that way if you have to pause or anything you can. So for this painting that we're working on today, I'm just starting by putting a little bit of black on the canvas. This is going to be where we're going to have the beginning part of our night sky. So anywhere that you want it to come down to on your painting, you can. I'm kind of leaving it to maybe just about a quarter. Way down on my canvas that I'm using today, I'm just using a basic stretched canvas. And then which color you want next, I'm just putting a little tiny touch of blue. I haven't gone and changed my paintbrush because I want this to blend in with the black paint. That I'm doing here is I'm adding the next color into my horizon. So I'm just mixing in a bit of some red. As you guys can see, this red is very see-through. The opacity is really low on it. So I'm just trying to kind of mix it and blend it in with the black that we already have with the blue. And then bringing that down a bit more into the palette. You're going to bring your red paint down to as low as you want, and then I'm going to add my next color onto my horizon, which is going to be yellow, and then blending those two colors in the middle to make more of an orange. Yes, I know at first it's going to look like I'm just painting a big Germany flag, but that's not what I was intending to go for. So yeah, just kind of mixing it down. I'm not using much water on this paint. One thing that I found kind of a fun challenge while going and painting this was seeing how quickly my paint would dry with it being so hot outside today. So, and then yeah, as you're mixing, you can kind of bring up your colors a little bit more onto the black, just to kind of give your horizon a little bit more dimension. The next part that we're going to do here is I'm taking a little bit more of my black paint and I'm going to actually start painting our landscape. So you'll see that I'll kind of bring it up almost to where it's going to be meeting up with the yellow. I realize now that reviewing back on this that I forgot to paint the bottom of the canvas, but whatever you guys do, you can make either a border line on your canvas with some painter's tape. If I'm working with a stretch canvas, I usually like to just try to keep the sides the same colors. That way if I want to keep it unframed, then you still have the color on either side. So So there, I'm going to put my paintbrush down. I'm going back actually with the yellow, and that's actually, you'll notice it starts to kind of mix in with some of that black paint that we've just put down, because this is going to be our background of our land. This painting, I should explain a bit more as we're going into it. A lot of you guys were requesting to do a little bit of a night sky painting, and also a lot of you were wanting to do something desert related, so I thought it'd be a fun challenge to paint something that was kind of Arizona-esque. So you'll notice here now I'm just taking a little bit more of that kind of darker grayish yellow, and just kind of giving a little bit more texture and dimension into our paint. You make a couple little squigglies if you want. And yeah, once you feel like you've gotten enough texture onto your paint, then you're just going to let this dry now for a couple minutes. Depending on how thick your paint is, you might need to make it let it dry a little bit longer. But in my case, it was drying really quickly. So now what I'm just doing is I'm going back now with a little bit of a finer brush and just kind of extending some of those horizon colors a bit, trying to mix up the colors a little bit more. So taking a little bit more of the yellow, and then just kind of brushing that so it blends really well. And then kind of going back in with a little bit more red, and then just blending that in. So you get that little bit more of a streamlined kind of look there with your sky. And I actually start bringing that red down a little bit more into kind of where I got my yellow, just very finely. And then what I'm doing here is I'm actually taking some of that orange that I've mixed, and I'm putting it along the peak of my horizon there, just to kind of make the landscape just kind of stick out a little bit more. It'll kind of help when you're going into the next step of this painting, just to kind of know where your land is ending and then where the sunset in this case is kind of landing. And then I'm just kind of going back over some of that painting that I did before, kind of taking more of that black, and then just putting a bit more texture kind of onto the desert ground. Alright, now we're getting to the fun part. After letting your paint dry for a bit, you're going to just take a dry brush, even a toothbrush would work really good, with some white paint, and we're going to just go and make our stars. Doing it this way just kind of gives you a little bit more of a natural kind of starburst look. If you do want to go back over some of your stars just to make them a little bit more prominent, you can. Just with a very, very fine paintbrush, just take a little bit of white paint, and then you can kind of just make a couple points like I'm doing here. But I really like the look of the starburst, and then sometimes you'll get kind of those little comet tails like you can see on the top left. There you go. So after doing that, I already went and made some green paint. But what I'm going to do here first is I'm just taking a little bit more of my black paint again, watering it down a little bit more. The reason why you want it watered down is it's just going to help make these strokes a little bit easier and not so grainy. So I'm going to start kind of where I want my cactuses to begin. You'll notice here I just kind of will go and make downstrokes with my paint. When I need a little bit more paint, I'm going to go back with some water, go back into my black, and then just drag downstroke that paint until where I think I want that cactus to end. The fun thing with cacti is that they're not completely straight or perfect, so wherever you want your cacti to kind of go and make that little extra limb, as I'm doing right there. Again, I'm just making that downstroke, and then And again, starting where I want that next little bit of the cactus is going and downstroking and attaching to the main stem. Keep in mind, typically when you're making your cactus, your main stem that you're going to be putting down on the paintbrush, that one you want it to be the thickest. Normally when you're looking at photos, I looked a little bit before designing what I wanted to do in my head. A lot of them don't have a thin main trunk. Your limbs are going to always be a little bit finer than your main trunk. And yeah, basically at this point, this is where you can just kind of have fun and go to town, figure out where exactly you want to have your little cactus families nestled up in your painting. And as you go through this video, you'll notice that I'll kind of do a little bit more in the background. Those ones trying to keep them as fine as possible and a little bit shorter, just to make them look like they're smaller and further away from where we are in the paint. So what I'm doing next here is any parts of your cactus that just seem like they're a little bit too see-through, I'm going back again with a little layer of the black paint. Wherever I want to kind of start making those shadows is where I'm making that black paint a little bit stronger. with the darker green that I made, I'm going kind of over where I want the highlights of my cactus to be. So we put the black down essentially to be the shadow, and then wherever the sunlight's going to be hitting our cactuses is where I want that green paint to go down. So yeah, just kind of think about where you want the lights and the shadows of your painting to be. My sun is going to be kind of in the middle of the two clusters of cactuses that I've got going on here. So you'll notice that on the left side, I'm putting the green down mainly on the brighter parts of the cactus. And then just kind of trailing down so that way you get that little bit of that shadow going on. The lighter green color, and I'm putting the lighter green color down just to kind of give more of that pop to the green that we've got going on. If you have like a super fine paintbrush, what you could do is even kind of paint a little bit more of the spikes on there. I just wanted to kind of keep mine basic looking, and that way from further away you still have kind of the shadows coming through. But whatever you guys want to do in your paint, you know, go for it. I think it'd be really cool to see what everybody creates at the end of this video. And of course, anything that you guys paint and you want to share on the Facebook group, just go to our Facebook group, which is Let's Paint 2020, and I'll put up an album that we can put up all the photos to. onto our landscape, I started painting just different kinds of succulent plants or any type of like little plants that you might find on the desert floor. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of taking that lighter green color and trying out different shapes and sizes to kind of go up and along the desert floor. And then I'm going again with the darker green and just touching up some of the plants that I've already created, or I'm going to make some different plants with that darker green color. Desert grass. So what I just did for this was I took a little bit of some white and put a tinge of yellow that we had made for the horizon, and then just kind of starting from the base of where I want the bush to start. I'm just doing kind of a quick little upstroke with my fine brush, just to kind of get a little bit of a wispier kind of grass look. And for most of these bushes that I put down here, I kind of kept them mainly along the sides of like where the cacti are coming out of the ground. But wherever you want to go and put your put some grass into your desert landscape here, you can go for it. then next what we're going to do is make the placement of the sun. Up to you what color you want to use. I wanted just to kind of make it stand out a little bit, so I'm putting my sun down with a little bit of white, and then once the white is all dried up, I actually went back over again with the yellow, just so you can almost get that halo ring effect sometimes when you're looking out into the sun. Of course, I'm not hoping that people are staring directly into the sun, but you know what I mean when you're getting some of those sun rays coming up. And just to make a nice touch, what I'm doing here with a dry fine baby bear brush is I'm taking some white and just kind of making some sunbeams come down through the desert. Some of these ones turned out really well and then other ones didn't, but you can kind of place them down however you want just to kind of add an extra little detail to your painting. And at last, when you are happy with the results of your painting, give yourself a pat on the back and then just put your initials or whatever you'd like somewhere onto your painting. And here's our finished painting. Thanks again so much for joining me today. Submit your paintings onto the Let's Paint 2020 and let's see what we can create together. Bye-bye.